Today, I'm going to unbox the final Blackstone Fortress expansion, Ascension, and I'm going to show you how to build the Guardian drones. Hey folks, Corey here with Fist and Stone Wargaming. Welcome back to another Blackstone Fortress video. If you'd like to check out some more Blackstone Fortress content, check out the playlist linked in the description below. Now, on to the unboxing. So now that I got everything out of the box and unwrapped, let's take a look at what we got. Of course, you've got the Guardian drones here in the back. We'll take a closer look at those in a little bit when we go to assemble them, but those are the only two minis you get in this box. The rest of this box is all content and all gameplay content. Remember, the original Blackstone Fortress cost $150 US. This is $110 US. 44 miniatures versus 2. So this is all going to be about this content here, which is really kind of cool. It's going to give you a lot more to play with. One other note, this needs Blackstone Fortress escalation in order to make sure that you can play this. So make sure you have it if you're interested in picking this up. All right, so let's go look at the pretty stuff here. Let's look at the new tiles and the new board pieces. And of course, these are all going to be double-sided. Like some really cool gun emplacements or something like that. A lot of single tile miniatures, markers, drills. Kind of move through these, take a look at them all. Going to add a lot of variety to the Blackstone Fortress boards. It's a pretty big piece. And that's it for the tiles. Beneath that, we got some assembly guide for the Guardian drones. We'll look through that a little bit more when we get to building those. And then a little QR code if you want to go read an excerpt from the book in the Black Library. Put that down here. Edge of the Abyss, which probably has some rules in it. Just kind of flip through, take a quick look. Introduction, a little bit of fluff. What's in the box? 2 Guardian drones, 2 hostile reference cards, 2 resource cards, 2 stronghold artifacts, 36 fragment cards, 15 challenge cards, 5 encounter cards, 16-page Edge of the Abyss booklet, which is this, an assembly guide, and a repository envelope, which if you're familiar with the game, you're not supposed to open till the end. It talks about the quests, setting up, some new special rules and cards. And one of the final missions and a new event table. So good stuff there. Lots of playability, lots of playthrough stuff. Let's see. So this is all, looks like we've got our, we'll take a look in here. Love these little bags, by the way. They're awesome for keeping stuff good. We've got an awakened spindle drone. So the spindle drones are going to get more powerful, it looks like, in this particular expansion. And then, of course, the Guardian drone. These are your 2 stat cards and activation cards. There's the repository envelope. Don't open till you're done. It says it right in the back. Looks like a whole bunch of cards here. Challenge cards, fragment cards, encounter cards. Some other cards in here. Artifact cards, resource cards. So you got all your cards here. I'm not going to open up every single package right now. Salvage, exploration, desperation, various other things here. These are all going to be part of the gameplay. Deliverance envelope. Do not open until the quest for salvation has been completed. So another one. It's two things there. This is the quest to endure, so there's two different quests. And then Ascension, the end draws near. And a little bit of chipboard, in case you're a modeler. Hang on to that. So there is a ton. This is a big book. This has got 40 pages, including the back cover. So there's a lot here. So there's actually two different games in here. It looks like, because there's two different components pages. See, you get this page here. That's why they were packaged separately, and this page here. So that's very interesting. There's a lot of gameplay, as I said before. So make sure you keep this stuff separate then. So these went with this. And this stuff went with this. Of course, the Guardian drones are probably used in both. So there you have it. As far as the unboxing, what's in the box, there was a ton of gameplay content. I'm not quite far enough along in the gameplay to actually start playing this yet, but I'm looking very much forward to getting to that point. So I've only completed the Trader Command expansion so far. The game is a lot of fun, has a ton of replayability. I'm sure this is going to be the same way. Let me get these books off the table here, and we'll start looking at the Guardian drones. All right, so switch cameras now to get up close to these models. You see the Guardian drones here, the little assembly guide. Looks like we do have a choice of parts here. A couple of options to get that hanging spindle drone underneath. And then, of course, the Warhammer 40K data slate. And then on the back, a basic painting guide. I haven't quite decided how I'm going to paint these up yet. I could follow my spindle drone technique, but I think I might do something slightly different for these particular Guardian drones since they are such a bigger model. Okay, and then here are the two sprues. They are identical. So for tools, all you really need are a hobby knife, maybe an emery board or a small file to clean off the mold lines. You can use a knife just as easily to do that. And your favorite glue, whether it be plastic cement, super glue. You don't actually have to use glue if you don't want to, like the other Blackstone Fortress kits. These are all press fit, but it's my preference to use a little bit of glue. And I'm going to use the Tamiya Extra Thin in this case because it is so thin and lets that press fit still work and then secures the solid. You're also going to need a pair of nippers. These will help get the model off the sprue a little bit easier. You can use the hobby knife to do that. Make sure if you do it on something like this, like a cutting mat. But it's a little bit cleaner if you do it with the sprue cutters. Just they come off that much better. All right, when you're cutting these out of the sprue using your cutters, these are called flush cutters. They have one end, you can kind of see that is flat. The other end has a groove in it. So when I'm cutting out, you put the flat edge against the miniature and snip away. Got to be careful though when you get to something like, oh, let's see here, like one of these. These are a little bit more on the fragile side. They don't have a nice big chunk of plastic like this does. So when you do that, you actually want to get a little bit further away from the mini with your initial cut, because it's going to, see how that moved? It's going to apply pressure. You can come back in after the fact and trim it down closer, or use your hobby knife to really clean it up. A little close on that last cut, but it's more because I'm familiar with how to do this. But you can see here the little nubs that I left on to cut away. So I'm just going to continue around cutting out the rest of this model, and then we'll clean it up. Once you've cut everything off, you got to go through and clean up the mold lines. Not quite sure how well you can see it here. It looks like it's okay. But right here, you can kind of see where the mold of these models were pressed together. So you want to kind of get that out of there, otherwise it'll show up in your paint job. So you can just use your hobby knife, the flat edge of it. If you have the Citadel tool, you could use that. It's the same kind of thing. Or you can come in with an emery board or a little file and file it down. And make sure I use something that's pretty fine though, fine grit. And you want to check all the way around the model for stuff like that. Because usually if it's in one spot, it's in multiple spots. You're going to want to do this with every piece, including cut the nubs off of where we cut it off the sprue. Alright, so with the model cleaned up, it's on to assembly. I've got all my pieces laid out here. Of course, this is the optional piece. I'm going to go with the one with the little spindle drawn on it, so I'm going to move this piece to the side, grab my thin cement, and I've got my assembly guide handy. So as I said, these are all press fit. So what I'm going to do is look at my assembly guide and actually kind of follow the steps, press fitting first and then pulling the miniature apart before I apply glue. So there's 2 pegs there, the 2 holes. We'll slide that in there. Let's see if we got a nice good fit. And then I'll take this apart. Might take a little bit of wiggling. There it goes. And I'm going to start gluing. And you don't need a lot of glue here because again the pegs hold very well. But this whole part of the miniature on the top here is kind of hidden. So I'm going to take advantage of that to use those for my glue. I'm going to put a little bit just in the pegs and a little bit across the top right here in the front. And then also just a touch on the outside of these flat surfaces, because they go inside the wings on the top of the hull here. And then we'll slide that back in place. And that looks pretty good. So we'll speed this up here and finish the model off. So there's our 2 Guardian drones complete. Throwing a couple of the other Blackstone Fortress miniatures out here for a sense of scale. You can see they kind of dwarf the original spindle drone, and they're significantly larger than the heroes. If you want to check out some other Blackstone Fortress content, click on the playlist on the top right of your screen. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.